Today on the Nerdy Gritty, recently, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez submitted a bill addressing the military using streaming platforms like Twitch. How do we feel about the relationship between the military and gaming?
One more world disappears inside it. Just another hopeless addict. World that makes a man insane. If the drums don't get you, the guitars will.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep in the detail of pop culture. I'm Sergeant Dez!
I'm Lieutenant Fox.
Who's higher? Who's do we know anything about the actual
Sergeant.
military?
Let's see, I think a sergeant's higher.
Is it?
I'm fairly certain a sergeant
Man,
is above
I know that when you
lieutenant.
start getting to things like captain, then you're in a different branch of the
Captains,
military.
Yeah, like I know there's a thing like commissioned officer and non-commissioned officer. I'm not sure what
It's
those
weird,
are.
man.
It's
I
a whole
don't
thing.
know.
There's a lot.
It is a
There's
whole
like
thing.
hundreds of ranks in the military.
Yeah. Hey Fox, something crazy just happened recently.
Yeah,
Epic just made a grab for some more money. So
it's what they do.
they do that a lot.
But also their company, so
Right.
what
I mean,
they
that's
do.
what all companies
they
do.
do.
And Apple, so essentially what happens is Apple takes a piece of all of the like transactions
Right.
and everything that happens
There's a
via the
fee
Apple
for
Store.
using their platform.
Right. And Epic was like, nah,
man.
we're not doing that anymore. And so Apple just took them off of their store. They're like, cool, we don't sell
Right.
Fortnite
Basically,
anymore.
if I remember correctly, they just tried to lower prices. Like, it was ostensibly better for the consumer because it would end up being cheaper, but it just meant that Apple would be getting less money. You apparently have more. You have something to show me, I think.
I have an article here.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically saying essentially this happened where Apple removed Fortnite from the iStore.
The Apple Store.
Apple Store because, man, for a second I'm like, is that what App Store stands for? Then I realized no, that's application store.
application
Yeah.
store.
Anyway, because Fortnite went around their rules for the App Store to try and take the 30% or whatever.
That's what it was.
cut.
You could do a direct
Right.
payment
You could do direct
through
payment.
the app that would bypass Apple.
Right.
Yeah,
That's exactly
That's
what it was. And so Apple was like, hey, you broke our rule. So no.
Yeah,
And now Epic is kind of playing like
they're going
the
strong.
martyr.
They're going
like
real strong.
They're suing Apple
Tim
now.
Sweeney, yeah.
So here, I want to show you a video, Fox.
Yeah,
and
apparently there's a video that I haven't seen.
this is wonderful here. And it's, to me,
Isn't it fun when like billionaires like fight each other?
I
Like,
watched this
about
video.
billionaire things.
I watched this video.
Oh, okay.
And
on the big screen.
the first thing that I thought was,
Okay, this looks vaguely familiar.
really? And all the things in the world, in the chaos, this is what Epic is fighting right now? Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay, yeah, this is from a classic commercial.
This is Apple's classic commercial.
Yeah, they took the. Oh my goodness! Gonna jump up and smash.
An apple with a little bite out of its head. So this is Apple's classic
man.
1984 commercial saying when the Macintosh released, this was their way of saying like, this is how 1984 is not going to end up like 1984,
Right.
you know, because it released in 1984.
Right.
Epic Games has defied the App Store monopoly. In retaliation, Apple is blocking Fortnite from 1 billion devices.
Sure.
Join the fight to stop 2020 from becoming 1984. Free Fortnite.
Hey,
Hashtag free Fortnite.
Hey, Epic. It's not a great time.
it's not a
Like,
great
look,
time.
regardless of your to what side you're taking, who cares? Whatever. Not really the time for that.
It is
bud.
not the time for that.
Hey, Tim. Hey, nah.
And
nah, man.
Here's my really,
Not right
really
now.
no, not right now.
Give it some time.
Is hashtag free Fortnite is the stupidest
It's bad.
hashtag right now.
It's real bad. Good news. High performance furniture for gamers is coming.
Oh no! I thought we already had that. Wait a second.
Yeah,
what happened to the gamer chair?
What we've had so far
the gamer bed
is crap. It is nothing.
This moderate performance.
It is garbage compared to what Herman Miller, a furniture company, is making. They're partnering with.
Wait.
Oh,
Herman Miller?
do you
Herman
know?
Miller was legit.
Oh,
I have no idea.
yeah. Okay.
I have no
It's like, do you know what this is? Apparently, one of their marquee products might be familiar. The Aeron chair?
The
Aeron? Now, they're partnering with Logitech G to make to work on high-performance furniture for gamers. Very few details are available so far, but they posted a blog post announcing the partnership, and it states, "It's finally time. Ergonomic excellence in gaming. We've spent more than 100 years perfecting the science of sitting."
Is that a real thing?
That is a real thing. Now we're bringing years of innovation, research, and scientific discoveries.
Wait. Did you see that dude that was standing? Did you see him? He bent his legs and his butt hit that thing under him.
Take notes. To the world, okay. They are promising they're the world's most advanced gaming chair. Here's the thing. Whatever. I understand that some chairs are more comfortable than others. Whatever.
Yes.
What this article I'm reading, it's on GameSpot, about this actually introduced me to is the bigger deal, is that apparently Ikea also has gaming chairs.
I can't. I'm not in front of my microphone. There's our Ikea gaming chairs?
Apparently, Ikea has spoken at high level about gaming chairs that use a 3D model of your butt to make the most comfortable seat. Like, this is a real thing.
How do they
apparently.
get that?
Oh, it's a process. You got to go into one of the stores, and they got a whole. It's like, you know when you go to the orthodontist and they're checking if you need braces, and so they put that weird putty in your mouth. Well, you take off your pants, and they just go like jump into a big pool of it.
I feel like this is the classic, Hollywood. Come to my place for a private interview type of thing. Like, come to IKEA so I can get.
Oh no!
So I can get a personal.
This is weird.
Screen of your butt.
Yeah. Oh man.
More good news.
All right.
The family recovered the nearly $20,000 that their son secretly donated to Twitch in just 17 days.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I didn't see this, but I saw that there was
17 days.
A kid
He found access to his mother's savings account, like
personal
savings account.
Freaking hacker.
And donated over the course of 17 days $20,000. Well, it was actually turned out to be $19,870.94 to some like big name, not huge, none of the big giant guys, but
sure.
Some moderate plus named streamers like Tfue, Gorb, Ewok TV.
And we need to stream more so we can take advantage of kids who get a hold of their parents' credit cards.
That's exactly what Fortnite. That's what
kids,
Fortnite
kids
is right
don't
now.
do this. But if you do,
definitely
don't do it. But if you do, against our wishes, parents. Movie.
Anyway, Fox, what have you been up to, man?
Okay.
Uh-oh.
I watched a movie called 10.0 Earthquake or 10.0 Quake.
This
it's a movie in the vein of Sharknado.
Yes. Yep. Okay.
I also tried to watch Sharknado.
What? You're home alone, so this is exactly what it is.
I watched a few serious things recently, and I know that these movies are not supposed to be so bad they're good. They're like, we know this is bad.
Right.
We're just gonna like
camped.
Well, it's not even campy. Like campy is like Evil Dead, where it's like we're going for a goofy aesthetic.
Right? Are they not like that?
No, Sharknado and I mean, technically yes, they're more campy, but they're just like. Basically, they said, okay, this movie is bad, but if we market it as if we know it's bad and, hey, come look at how bad this movie is, then people will watch it anyway because it's fun, bad movie. When a fun, bad movie, we talked about this, good, fun, bad movie is a movie that the creators were all about making something great and failed miserably. That's the greatest bad good movies, like The Room.
Yeah.
What I watched recently was a show called Fargo on Hulu.
Man, did you ever see the original movie?
I've never seen the movie.
Oh, it's a classic.
It's one of the Coen Brothers.
You should watch it. Yeah,
I haven't seen.
You will love it. You will.
Oh, I love the Coen Brothers. But yeah, so I watched the show.
Is it in the same kind of black comedy, dark comedy?
Yeah. I mean, I watched the first season. The fourth season is coming out soon. It is an anthology. First season, incredibly good. Like, sometimes hilarious, sometimes gruesome.
Was there a wood chipper?
No, there was no wood chipper.
Okay,
in this.
just wondering.
Well, there was
no spoilers, but
the Steve Buscemi was not put into a wood chipper.
oh, you know about that?
I know a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I look just through cultural osmosis. I know a lot about it. Anyway, there was a wood chipper in a scene as a just sitting there as like a call.
That's what I want.
There's a
okay,
lot of that.
that's
stuff.
what I'm talking about. Yeah,
But the show is, I think, maybe not even like an adaptation of the same story. It's small town, North Dakota. It's not set in Fargo, really. And here are characters. It's classic Coen Brothers where it's like they're completely it's somebody trying to do something that they're completely out of their league trying to do. Hilarious, very well acted. But yeah, what I love is that like everything matters. Callbacks. Obviously they're going for a different thing than something like The Flash.
Right.
Sure, I'm not trying
very different.
They're
yeah.
apples and oranges, but like the villain, quote unquote, most people are villains. In the show, like very few people are just like the good guy.
Mm-hmm.
But the most easily identified as the villain, played by oh dang, I forget his name, but his name is Lorne Malvo, and he is this terrifying presence of just this. He was very Jokerish, where he just clearly was there for chaos. Like he had some purpose to him, like he did specific things, but he was there to sow chaos and just found that to be really fun.
My daughter, speaking again of shows and cartoons, my daughter introduced me to a show called Legend Quest: Masters of Myth. This is a Netflix TV show. It is a continuation of a Mexican cartoon that went for 2 seasons called Legend Quest.
Okay.
And essentially it's a kid in the past. His village is being raided by some sort of like a spiritual ghost, whatever. And
one of those spiritual ghosts.
Yeah. And he, with an Alebrije, which are spiritual guardians, the ghost of one of his ancestors, which is unfortunately a Spanish conquistador. And which one of his ancestors, to be fair.
Okay.
But and then the spectral presence of a girl from the future.
What is going on in this show?
Kind of crazy, but they go through Mexican myth and the culture of Mexico, and they're trying to defend from like the Cucuy and all of these other type of like, again, it's really, really deep into La Llorona Mexican folklore and Mexican culture, and it tries to be very true to it. Those are the first 2 seasons.
Okay.
It ended, and then Netflix bought it and brought it over, and now they're jumping to all sorts of different cultures all over the world, and it's super cool because like they did one where they fight the gargouille, which is what gargoyles are from, stemmed from in the French myth. And I'm like, is this and I look it up, and it's similar to, like, it's definitely, and I learned things about the myth of the gargoyle that I never knew before.
One last thing from me. I'm about halfway through Cowboy Bebop.
Yes.
If you listen to this show on a regular basis, there have been times where I'm like, I really like the concept. I like anime. Like I want to. Right. There have been times I was into Naruto and Death Note. Like high school for me, that was when those things were huge.
You like the idea of anime.
I do, but most of the time when I've tried recently, it's been something that's pretty modern.
Right.
And those always are just, I hate them. Most recently, it was I don't know, whatever the
Sword Art Online.
Sword Art Online. Thank you. And I hated it. Got 3 episodes in, and it just was terrible. But I'm pretty sure, just like in a lot of music, the 90s are my sweet spot. Man, Cowboy Bebop is delicious. So good.
It's Firefly before it was Firefly.
Clearly Firefly was like, let's make that, but with people.
Yes, exactly.
And they're more actual.
Joss Whedon is like, I like Cowboy Bebop.
I like Cowboy Bebop. Let's do that and make him an actual cowboy instead of just call himself a cowboy. So anyway, show it's so good. It's slow moving. The characters are real people.
Ed is
hilarious. Like Ed would be the character that I hate in a modern show because it'd be half the characters are just these crazy, emotionally weird, like outbursts and weird facial animation that I hate. But her contrast to everyone else in the show, and her also, she's not like obnoxious. She's just kind of strange. And I like her, and I like all the characters
because everyone else has kind of this noir feel going on to them.
It's a
and
noir
then Ed's like,
western.
What's up, y'all?
Yeah, and she's just like saying all these weird non sequitur things. She clearly River Tam is the Edward, or not Edward, but Ed. And so anyway, it's so good. The animation is really great. The sci-fi concept of it is really great.
That's all I got.
That's it for me.
All right. Let's get on to the nitty gritty.
Let's do that. But before we get into the nerdy gritty proper, I want to take a quick moment here and talk about our Patreon. As always, we have a Patreon where there are 3 tiers of support that we have available. The lowest tier is at $1. At the second tier of $5, you will gain access to what we call the director's cut of the nerdy gritty, where usually if you're hearing this right now, you're hearing our cut down version, our shorter version, where we kind of remove some of the stuff toward the beginning, kind of streamline it. But if you like listening to the nerdy gritty and want more of it, then if you joined at the second tier, you would get the director's cut, where we're leaving in at about 20 to 30 minutes extra usually per week. We kind of talk a lot.
Yeah, I mean, well, we understand that for the general distribution, a palatable podcast,
sure, yeah.
45 minutes to an hour, and
right.
try and keep it right there. But for our fans who really appreciate,
we'll talk about a few more
about
news stories. We'll have longer discussions about the things that we're into. But just to be clear, we do not cut down what the nerdy gritty is. The second half after this, we don't cut that down. That's kind of what the important thing is that we're talking about, what we really want to get into, and that's not really something we want to deprive anybody of listening to. Obviously, we're always right about all of it, so they need to know what their opinion is,
especially when we're debating.
Right. So we're
both right.
We're both right. Yeah. Well, yes, that's how good we are, is that we're both right at the same time. So we want to make sure that everybody can hear that full discussion. So if you like the nerdy gritty and want to hear more, we would love to have you go on there. Even if it's at just the first tier, you will get behind the scenes, you'll get extra videos, you'll get just early access to YouTube videos that we put up. You get lots of stuff, and you'll still get that at the $5 tier. If you can't do that right now, we completely understand. We appreciate any kind of support, whether that's just sharing it with a friend, liking, commenting on our videos, or whatever it is. We appreciate everybody for all of your support, and we thank you so much. Let's get down to the nerdy gritty. So recently, there's been some big developments in the relationship. The conceptual relationship.
Do you ship the military and Twitch? Yeah. That's the question.
Really, I think it's kind of just the next step in the relationship between gaming as a hobby / industry and the U.S. military in general.
Right.
This is just kind of the new form it's taking, because this isn't the first time there's been things where they interact. But specifically, what we want to kind of start this discussion with is the fact that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a member of the House of Representatives, she's not in the Senate, is she? I can never remember. She's one of them. She's in the military. She's not in the military. She's a representative. You're right. She introduced a bill that would essentially make it impossible for the military to spend its budget on things like Twitch and other streaming platforms.
Right.
If you didn't know, the various branches of the military do have Twitch channels that they have members of their branch stream games on. It is essentially a recruiting platform. I've not really been interested in watching any of this. I've seen a few videos. I don't know how strong they get into, like, all right, kids, time to go to usarmy.com and sign up. Or if it's just kind of hey, kids, look, we're cool, and we do the things you do, and just like little like ads or something. I don't know how specifically they try to tell, people following or watching to, but it is in general, it is with the pursuit of recruiting people to the military.
Right.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is AOC from here on out, because it's much shorter.
Much easier to say.
Introduced a bill that basically would make them not allowed to use that in an official capacity. And spoiler alert, it failed. It failed hard. And what we want to talk about today is kind of the relationship between the U.S. military and gaming as a hobby / kind of the optics of the military. This is something we'll get into, I guess, but the military using video games as a recruiting tool, or if we want to call it this, a propaganda tool. Because if you didn't know, military and video games have been involved with each other for actually a very long time. It's before this, but one of the biggest things that happened was they actually created a game called America's Army.
I think it was for the PS2, if I remember correctly.
I know it was on the PC for sure. I'm not sure if it went to consoles. I do remember that it was an option. So there was a place I went to when I was middle school / late elementary school. I would go there with friends. It was like a PC gaming place. You could go and, play games on the computers they had set up. And America's Army was an option, was one of the ones they had installed on their systems. And I remember playing it very briefly and then switching back to Halo.
Looks like Windows, and then eventually one of the versions came to PS4.
Okay. To PS4?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, also included versions for the Xbox, arcade, and mobile applications.
There was an arcade America's Army? I did not know
there's
that.
America's Army Rise of the Soldier, America's Army Special
Okay, so
Operations,
it went
America's Army the
beyond.
Arcade, America's Army's True Soldiers, Real Heroes, comics, everything.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about a few specific things. Here is another update on the whole military using dang it, Twitch. That's
there
what it's
you
called.
go.
I forgot the
You did
word
it.
Twitch. We say it 50,000 times in every single episode. They have both. One of the big things that happened that kind of maybe spurred this whole event was that there were people going on to the Navy and Army streaming channels and asking, mostly in a trollish kind of way, hey, what's your favorite war crime that the U.S. Army has committed? Things like that.
Yeah.
And they would immediately be banned.
Yeah.
Which I understand, but also has brought up legal arguments saying that is a suppression of free speech, considering it's the American government using these things. That's a whole lot of stuff. Let's kind of just approach it from a wide angle first here. What are your thoughts on the military and the gaming community and how they've kind of been intertwined in the past?
The unfortunate reality is that the American military has always used propaganda. This is just the propaganda, or again, we use the word propaganda, and that's actually a weighted word. So I'm going to use.
It really is. It has some baggage.
They always advertise.
Yeah.
They have always advertised to the general public. Uncle Sam wants you.
Right.
Huge advertisement, TV shows, comics.
Right.
All kinds of things forever. The military has advertised, and they've advertised to youth, to teenagers, to young men,
right?
Really targeting these things, be a hero and all this other stuff. G.I. Joe was a propaganda
100%.
tool.
Things like sporting events.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's always been a thing.
And so if we're going to stop now, we would honestly be setting a precedent of saying, okay, but this one is different. We need a why. I'm not trying to say that it isn't and that we shouldn't do this, but what I am saying is we've been comfortable with it for 200 years. Why now? Why is this the moment when we stop and say, now you cannot do this. This is not okay. And it's, you and I have been talking about this back and forth for a little while now, and that's honestly a question that I have been wrestling with. What is it about Twitch or about any streaming platform that makes this unique to anything else in history? What makes our time unique to anything else in history? And are we setting a precedent now that says it never should have been okay? It's always been bad. It's always been manipulative. This is bad. And so to me, I'm genuinely struggling with this because on one side, it is a lot of manipulation very often. And there is a lot of, and again, we've said this word is weighted, but I'm going to use it now for the purpose of the weighted word. It is a lot of propaganda to try and manipulate. But at the same time, at times when the military has been low, there's been drafts, and that's even worse. We don't want that either.
Sure.
And so we need to be aware that this military exists if we don't want to have to be forced people to join it. There are so many variables in this. And so, I guess I would actually turn this question back around to you and say, I don't have an answer to it. This is something that I've been wrestling with in my brain, but why is this different? What is it about a streaming platform that makes us say that one's not okay, but the commercials I see on TV all the time, but the ad on the billboard that I drive by all the time, the comics, whatever else, those are okay. But this one's not okay.
Now, I have opinions. We both have opinions on
absolutely.
this. And I'm not going to say that we shouldn't involve those. That's
No.
That's going
They
to be part of
very
the
much should
discussion.
be, yeah.
What I want to do right now, though, is talk about why Alexandria AOC.
Yeah.
She gave this really big speech. First of all, she also tweeted at one point. First, if you didn't know, AOC is a quote unquote gamer. At one point, she was just like a recent quarantine, accomplishment. I reached silver rank 2 or something like that on League of Legends. And I was like, oh, that's fun. But she also tweeted like, imagine trying to explain to your colleagues who are members in Congress what Twitch is.
Yeah.
And she's just like, ah.
That is such a hurdle for so many young reps today that like the median age for so many politicians is like 60.
It's still a pretty old club right now.
And so to get a lot of these young reps coming in there on both sides of the, red or blue,
right,
or, House or Senate or whatever else.
Yeah.
Trying to explain.
It's like the old, like, trying to explain to your grandpa how to use their phone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to, discriminate or whatever. It's just like, it's new technology that older people don't necessarily have experience with. Like, just every single generation has this. There's going to be things that when you are like a couple years older, and when I'm much, much older.
Right.
Yeah.
Big
There's
difference
a huge. You're very old already.
In 2 years for me.
In 2
about
years.
25
about
for you.
40 years from now for me. No, there's going to be things that we don't understand, and we are very tech savvy right now, as far as like at least average and maybe a little above that. And so, not trying to slander people for not knowing what Twitch is, but that's a pretty big hurdle when it comes to I feel for her in the sense that she clearly finds this important, clearly has personal experience with these platforms and know that there could be a danger here, and then is trying to persuade people who have very little, if any, knowledge of what this is.
I mean, we've seen the effects of tech illiteracy in the government from the trials and the questions of Mark Zuckerberg.
Sure.
And the things that he was asked, and the questions and these things like, and he's asked these ridiculous things.
How do you make money? Senator, we run ads. Was his act like, you didn't put that 2 and 2 together. It's like, that's what you're here for. There's
so many things that these older politicians just literally don't fathom.
Right. And
again, it's not saying, bashing them or anything like that.
It's detrimental to the fact that they might not understand what they're voting on.
Right.
But it's also not nobody can be expected to understand everything at all times. There is kind of a responsibility on their shoulders to know specifically what they are voting on.
Yes.
So you can't say, well, they didn't, nothing could be done.
It's fine.
Oh, he's from an older generation.
Yeah.
We know that's not a good argument for anything.
Then vote him out. Yeah. And put somebody
who's going to understand these things. Regardless. So she gave a pretty impassioned speech, as she does about a lot of things. But her big thing was children should not be targeted in general for many marketing purposes, in addition to military service. Right now, currently, children on platforms such as Twitch are bombarded with banner ads linked to recruitment sign-up forms that can be submitted by children as young as 12 years old. These are not education outreach programs for the military. This is like, she's basically saying that they've made arguments that it's not just trying to recruit people to the military, it's education. And really it's the whole, like, it's just the advertising to minors problem is what she's kind of framing this as. It's, the video game playing age is pretty wide nowadays, but there are still many young children.
Very much so, yes.
Especially a lot of minors who are not even close. If you're 17 and you're thinking about what you're going to do when you graduate high school, that's different than a 12-year-old.
Right.
So that was kind of her main argument, which I think is completely fair. I think, like, this is a platform that is not specifically for children, but is used by a lot of children, especially when your Twitch streamers for the military were streaming things like League of Legends, things that are not even M-rated games. I mean, they still do stream like Call of Duty and things like that, but they are specifically playing games that could be are technically legal for kids to play, under 17 to play. And so I think it's like that was their main argument and her main argument. And I think that's pretty fair, that it clearly is a targeting. To say it's education, I feel like is just trying to obscure their real purpose.
Right.
Because I mean, it's a target. Like at the end of the day, they want more people to join the military. And this is a place where they might be able to do that, especially when they're playing military-themed games that could, because of their sense of realism, give a skewed view of what being in the military is like.
If we're going to say that, though, there has to be the question of, if we're going to say that Army video games skew people toward the military, that will also play into the violence in video games arguments.
You're right, yeah.
Either video games do affect our subconscious or they don't. We as gamers don't get to pick and choose which things, yes, they do affect and no, they don't affect us. Take Alan Wake, for example. Verizon and Energizer were everywhere in that game.
And now I buy Energizer batteries exclusively.
No, on the exact opposite, it did nothing. It was nothing.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so I feel like if we're going to take a stance that, hey, we don't know the impact this is having, I feel like that's a false stance, because we do know the impact that this is having. We have done so many studies on the impact that video gaming have on the subconscious for violence, for choice, for hand-eye coordination, all these types of things. And we know what does and does not affect us pretty well.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. I don't want to try to make that argument of, well, it's just making kids want to join the military.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily true. What I do think, there's a reason why people advertise in their YouTube videos, where they advertise on their Twitch streams products that they partner with, because they can sell that kind of thing. And the military is using these things isn't just like trying to subconsciously, like they don't need to have their own channel to get more Call of Duty like content out there. There's 1 million people making 1 million videos a day of Call of Duty and Battlefield content. Like, it's already out there. What they're doing is specifically advertising the possibility of this career option.
Right.
It's I'm trying to I don't want to make that argument that they're just trying to affect the subconscious of the kids. They are blatantly advertising
it's not
this career option. Yeah, it's it's superliminal. It's join the Navy.
It's super duper liminal.
Yeah.
Not
great
even
episode of The
at
Simpsons.
Niage, but
it's not even at Niage. It's, hey, you join the Navy. Okay. Oh, that's a great episode of The Simpsons. You should go watch it right now. It's
Lieutenant L.T. Snow.
LT Smash.
Smash.
What does the LT stand for? You'll know when you're ready, or when the time has come. You'll know. The time has come. It's Lieutenant. I'm Lieutenant Smash.
So
anyway,
yeah, I think the real question here is, why do we have to consider this special? As of right now, the military comes to high schools and makes presentations to students.
Sure. Have recruitment booths and tables and stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. At college fairs, the military is there saying maybe college isn't for you.
A career option.
Yeah, military is a career option for you. And there has to come to a point where we stop and say, what makes this unique?
Right.
And again, honestly, and I know your stance on it, and so I don't want to say it for you if you're not comfortable saying it, but if we want to say that there is a moral issue with the military,
that's kind of where this has to go to make a real argument.
Right. We can say that and we can have that discussion, but that is going to be an umbrella statement that affects significantly more than just streaming platforms. That has to say, this is an issue and we need to stretch this issue to schools and college fairs and streaming platforms and billboards near schools and things like that. At the same sorts of limitations that cigarettes have. Here are the places you can advertise.
Here's what a minor is illegal for a minor to engage in this activity. We should not be in any way, advertising in that capacity.
Right. And again, I'm not saying we shouldn't.
Sure. It's you're talking about that there needs to be, if that's the argument, then that whole argument needs to be made, and not just Twitch or Facebook gaming or Mixer.
And so I really do want to pose this question to you. Why do you think, and I don't even know if I know, so maybe I'm assuming your opinion here, but what makes streaming platforms unique to any other form of advertising that the military currently uses?
I don't know if it does. I don't have a strong, like, I have strong opinions on military recruitment and
in general,
joining the military in general.
Yeah.
This is, yes, look, if you want me to go on that whole thing, I won't, because I'm not prepared and this isn't the time. But yeah, it's beyond that. I don't know if Twitch is, but I do understand the argument being made that, hey, this is a lot of kids are on here. This isn't a thing. Like, maybe that's the stepping stone. Maybe that's seen as a stepping stone. Maybe if AOC people, she was a bartender and people like destroy her for that. So if she went out and said no more advertising the military, then she would be, nobody would take her seriously, and they already don't. But
right.
Like, so maybe this is a stepping stone. Hey, here's one specific thing that might be a problem, and maybe it could lead to something if that's her goal. I couldn't tell you. I do want to give you an update though, that apparently the military the Army specifically paused its use of Twitch.
Interesting. Okay.
Not because of this lawsuit or anything, but because of what I mentioned before, where people were going on. It's actually very funny. You can see quote unquote speed run tactics of people trying to get banned from the chat as fast as possible. And literally all they would have to do is go on and ask them about, like, hey, tell me about the war crimes and this is that quoting them. It's just, hey, tell me about the war crimes that you guys commit, and they would get banned. And they're treating it as like a speed run, like strategies and stuff. It's very funny, but that's raising greater issues of First Amendment rights. It's also been raised in regards to Trump's Twitter account, that if he were to ban somebody from being able to see his Twitter, then it could, because presidential tweets are protected and actual like official communication from this is where we are nowadays, but that's an official like communication from the government, and therefore protected by First Amendment that everybody needs to have access to be able to see, then banning somebody from it is illegal. Again, it's against the First Amendment. And that same argument is being made with official military Twitch channels when people are getting on there, and even if they're doing quote unquote trolling, but it's still a legitimate question, and then they're banned because of it, then there are lawyers bringing up this concept that it's banning it's First Amendment rights violation.
Right.
Because this is official military communication.
I don't know the exact wording. I'm trying to skim it right now, so I'm not even going to try. It's not going to help. I don't know the exact wording, but I've kind of always understood First Amendment rights to be, maybe that does fit in there. I was going to say like public sharing, but I guess that's still a public platform.
Oh yeah, it's still public.
Right.
Twitch is, yeah.
So yeah, man, that's
it's being brought up. That's kind of a thing. That's why they stopped their official communication. The Army told GameSpot the team has paused streaming to review internal policies and procedures, as well as all platform-specific policies to ensure those participating in the space are clear before streaming resumes.
I wonder if it would be fair to say, hey, Twitch has these rules, or Twitch has established.
That's what they're talking about, is that they're looking at these platform-specific policies.
Yeah, and Twitch has established even that we can establish our own rules because this is Twitch, and Twitch says we're allowed to do this. We are going to do this.
Could be one argument, yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that just one last thing here, Twitch apparently has told the Army to stop sharing quote phony prize giveaways on its channel that promise an Xbox Elite Series 2 controller only for users to be directed to a recruitment page when they clicked through. That's what I got a problem with.
That is garbage.
Like I can look at this and there might be an actual possibility of winning a prize, but like
it shouldn't redirect you anywhere to a place where to
right to a recruitment like that. That's pretty blatantly like
yes.
That's bad. That's bad policy.
Let's be clear, that happens a lot on the internet where they say, "Hey, click this link," and you click the link,
clickbait ads,
and it's always bad.
Right,
like it's always a bad.
Right.
Don't do that. That's awful.
So there are some other arguments, I guess, that you can like. Okay, they're engaging in pretty scummy behavior.
Right.
But that anybody can do that.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's just that hard part. Yeah, I don't envy Twitch. I think in this, like, they are engaging in some like final new frontier like internet policies of having to police people for all these different things. And
I mean, this should cause new bills, new laws.
Yeah, right.
Like we do need to regulate this in some way.
technology moves faster than policy. So
right.
there's going to be a catch-up period, but it needs to happen.
It does need to happen because that's rough. The muting of people for a government thing. Interesting.
Right.
Man. That as I'm thinking about it now, I'm like, the more I think about it, I'm like, no, kind of every loophole I can think of doesn't work. They shouldn't be able to do that.
If it's an official like government platform.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. It's just if somebody's but at the same time, I could make the argument if somebody's just being a troll like that, like they're not actually interested in engaging in a dialogue and they're just trying to speedrun getting banned, then why would you want them to be a part of your conversation? Like, if somebody were to do that to freaking, Shroud or whatever, like, like if they're just there to be a troll. I mean, there's going to be a million people like that, but you can understand why they would ban them.
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
that extra layer of this is a government thing. Like, there's certain policies that I don't know. It's a whole man. At the end of the day, I lean more in the. I feel like it's kind of scummy for the government to try to advertise to potentially very, very, very young people.
Right.
And I do think there is a difference between like subconscious influence on like violence and things like that. Or there's a difference between that and trying to portray. There have been commercials that pretty much straight up portray military activity as a video game. And so, like, I think there's a difference between subconscious influence from a video game content to behavior in real life, to misleading somebody into a false understanding of what it means to be a part of an organization. I don't know. I think there's a difference there, but I'm not an expert.
I think there's also a difficult balance that needs to come of the amount of memes and internet everything that is detracting from the military right now. It just goofs and funny things like, when a civilian hears military grade and it shows somebody happy, and it says when a veteran hears military grade and they're like terrified, just little things like that. But it does very much establish this culture of the military as something that is bad, that we don't want to be a part of. And so it really is going to come down to, is it more important to keep our military staffed or to have an honest, not propaganda, not advertisement of these things in the world? And again, I am sitting on the middle of that.
Do the ends justify the means?
Yeah.
And it really, at the end of the day, it all comes down. It's always going to come down to your view on the military.
Yeah.
Like, you can have arguments other than that, but really that's just gonna that's gonna really affect your bias toward the situation, is what you view like how you view the military.
I perceive the military as like a necessary, unfortunate evil that I wish we didn't need one. I wish that we could disband it and not need it ever. And it definitely needs to be significantly smaller and less budgeted than it is now. Significantly so. But the reality of there are like things in the world that are dangerous, and Christians like we may be comfortable with the prospect of death, but we can't expect every citizen to agree with that.
Yeah, there's so many things that go into this even before just the advertising part of it.
Yeah,
that's just like a logical outcome of an organization wanting to remain staffed.
Yeah.
Like that's just what companies do, and the military is to a certain extent a company.
Yeah, I was gonna say the exact same thing. Is we do have to perceive this in a way almost like a business with their right to advertise, because there is money that cycles through the military. They have to pay their soldiers. They have to get military contracts, like be able to pay those military contracts.
Sure,
they
yeah.
Have to get supplies, whatever they else. Like these are, or they don't have to, but these are the things that they have established
that they're interested in doing.
Right. And so if they perceive that they need finances, they also need to be able to advertise.
Right. I see. Yeah. I think my main problem with this whole thing, and this is my perception again,
right,
is it's akin to like the general idea of being a cool video game tester and getting to play video games for fun, and then actually from stories that I've seen, getting into the industry as just a QA tester and it being a terrible time because it's a terrible job.
The best example that I've ever heard.
And like I feel as though the portrayal of the military by the military is possibly very different than the actual experience that a lot of people have had.
I think the boomer era, or the greatest generation, excuse me. I think the greatest generation,
what they're called,
caused a lot of.
That's actually the one before
boomers, right? That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Caused a lot of the misconceptions because there was the World War II and the freedom fighters.
World War II has profoundly affected American culture.
The entire world.
Well, sure, but just in so many ways. It's crazy.
But I was actually thinking about that a lot today, but how World War II has affected that. We can talk about that after the podcast because that's a different thing. But
this is now a history podcast.
Yeah. But the way that we perceive these military people as heroes still carries on today.
Sure.
Even though when we get into more like the Korean and the Vietnam War and things like that, and it becomes a lot less black and white, it becomes a lot more difficult to perceive good versus bad in there. We still have this mindset, and of course the Army still likes to portray that hero thing. And with so many people, like you said, I spoke to my grandfathers, each of them, about their time in the military, and they talked about it like it was the greatest honor of their life. My grandfather on my dad's side has a Silver Star and 3 Purple Hearts, like medaled soldier, incredible stories. But I talked to any modern veterans, and they're like, it's kind of rough, man. Like, some people are like, no, I'm glad I did it. I like the military. I support it. I'm going to support it for my whole life. But also, it kind of sucks sometimes.
Sure. Yeah. Military experience. And yeah, it's also, we can't just say it's one behemoth experience, one monolithic experience that everybody, because there's a lot of things we could talk about, but at the end of the day, as far as the gaming industry and the gaming community is involved,
fair point.
That's where what we want to focus on here. I just find it a little skeevy to use this not always younger skewing. Gaming age is basically all ages now,
right?
But it does tend to skew younger, and they are using games that are rated for younger people as a way to essentially directly recruit people into the military.
I will wholeheartedly agree with you that it doesn't feel right.
There's something that's just
feels wrong.
In an ideal world, you would want them to not need to do this. I think is what it is. Regardless of my opinions, and we differ a lot there. In an ideal world, I would want the military to not need to advertise in these pop culture type ways, even beyond like Independence Day Resurgence or whatever the second one was, had a contract with the military where they had games you could play that would redirect you to the U.S. military, like the Army site and stuff like that. And it's just like, I really wish that wasn't a thing they needed to do. Not necessarily because I want them to be fully staffed all the time. It's just like, it feels like it just feels weird. It feels underhanded or I don't know. I don't like the feel of it.
I agree. I don't like the feel of it either.
Yeah, but that's not very objective.
Nope, not at all. And you can't legislate feelings. You can't.
That's a whole other topic, but it's hard. It's hard to convince people when it's just something you feel.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you for listening. Let us know what you think about this whole issue, the military and gaming and their advertisements and all this stuff that's going on. Let us know what kind of side you fall on, or if you're somewhere sitting in the middle, if you're as confused as I am about this whole thing. Thank you for listening. We want to say a huge thank you to Granger for the use of our theme song, All My Friends Have Wi-Fi, and some of my neighbors do too. Go check out the album Dear Sam. It's so good.
Go check out our YouTube channel. We've got a lot of stuff on there, as you may have heard before. His playthrough of Code Vein is going to be finishing up soon, as well as my walkthrough of the first Spyro the Dragon game, the remaster. And then we've got Last of Us Part 2.
I'm going to stop right there. Yeah. I don't know if we've ever specified this. If you're listening on Spotify or whatever else, you may not know that we're dezandfoxplay on YouTube.
We have a YouTube channel called dezandfoxplay. I should be more specific about
that,
because
if you search for the
I would say the majority of
the
majority of our listeners are not on YouTube based on the
Right.
stats I've seen. So, hey, we have a YouTube channel,
Yeah.
friends. Thanks for listening somewhere else. It's nice. But we have a YouTube
dezandfoxplay
channel.
on
If
YouTube.
you're into gaming, that's the vast majority of what we do, Let's Plays and whatnot. And we always got at least 2 or 3 games going.
Yeah.
And so there's always something. Plus, we've been going at it for a couple of years, and there's thousands of videos up there. So
Literally
thousands. So and all genres to some extent. I don't think we've ever played a racing game or any sports games.
We did Trials.
Oh yeah, we're good. If you like Trials.
No, sports is the one we have not done.
We don't really do the sports.
We should see if we can borrow Madden from somebody
let's
and
do
play
that.
against each other.
Let's do that. Not knowing really
my-
anything
n-
about how
neither of us
football
knowing
works.
None of it.
Okay,
Oh my
that
gosh.
sounds fun.
All right. Thanks again, guys, and always remember that save games, save lives.
See you next week.
My voice sings loud.